I made a really weird concoction. Well, I guess it might not be weird, but it was weird to me, a weird concoction. I was making up my food for the week, and I decided that I was going to make craft dinner, but with a ramen packet added. So I had two craft dinner boxes, and then I added a chicken flavored ramen packet to it. So that's my food for right now. I was thinking that we'd be able to get together and have a meal. And I can tell you how this one turned out. It might not be good. I have a bunch of it though that I made, so I'll eat it. Let me make this a little bit lower so you can see. It's kind of like, it looks like regular mac and cheese, but it has those ramen long noodles. So let's see how this turned out. It's really hot. I just made it, so I don't know if you can see the steam, but that's kind of fun. You might be wondering, you might not be, but just in case you're wondering why I'm not using chopsticks with this, I actually can't physically use chopsticks. Well, that's not completely true. Sometimes I attempt and I know how to use them, but because of my disability in my wrists and arms, it's a very difficult thing. So I usually just use a fork, which I know when I go to different restaurants that serve Asian food or whatever, I always have to specifically ask because they have these lovely chopsticks sometimes, but I still have to ask for a fork. I will appreciate them. I might even attempt, but the fork is for me. I put the chicken flavor packet in with the craft dinner stuff. So, really, I made chicken and cheese noodles. If it was Parmesan, I would say I made chicken Parmesan. But I'm sure there's a way I could make this seem fancier than it is. I've been trying to, now I'm at the very beginning research of this, but I want to look into whether I can color a coloring book on YouTube. Like, I know that there are YouTube channels that will show you coloring books or whatever, but I wonder if those are copywritten images. I wonder, because Disney likes to go after people, I wonder if there will be a copyright strike against a channel that does that, that shows people and colors in the coloring book. I don't know the answer. It seems like it would be silly, but a lot of copyright seems to be silly. And yeah, I don't know the answer. So if you know the answer, or if you think you know the answer, give me a comment below. I am just in the beginning stages of this. I would love to, as I said in a previous video, I don't know why I don't color more. It seems up my alley. I have my pencil crayons and whatever to be able to do that, but it might just not be in my sights, and I don't have very good object permanence, so I might see it and be like, oh yeah, that thing, and completely forget about it as soon as it's out of my sight. And then a month or two will go by and I'll discover it again and I'll be like, oh yeah. So I'm wanting to actually spend time working on it because I always have that reaction. I always have the reaction, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. I also have another coloring book, and I think it's more generic. So maybe if there's a copyright situation, maybe that's a better bet. I'm not saying that every video on here is going to be a coloring book video. I'm just saying that it's one of the videos that I could do potentially. This is probably one of my least healthy meals. I usually put veggies or something in there, but because I didn't know how this was gonna turn out, I was like, I'm just gonna make it plain and then see how it goes. But it's not bad. It's along the lines of my culinary expertise. So I can do this usually. It's come to my attention, though, that I make craft dinner weird. I didn't know there was a weird way, but because I have problems with my arms, I make it in a pan and I pour water enough to cover the noodles, and I put the sauce packet and butter and whatever at that time, and then I simmer it. And that way I don't have to strain it. I don't have to lift anything to strain and then lift it back. Now, for this, I ended up making it in a pot because it was quite a bit of stuff that I was making up. But yeah, I guess most people don't do it that way. Most people will make up the noodles and then do the sauce packets in a separate step. But here's the question. Pasta water is super tasty, which is why when you go to a restaurant or you're feeling fancy and make pasta at home, you reserve a little bit of the cooking liquid and you add that to the sauce of your pasta sauce. You know, you don't just strain the whole thing. And it's supposed to make things a lot yummier. So my question is, for the strainers out there, is the craft dinner that's left, do you think that some of that good flavor has been strained? So what do you think flavor-wise is left? I'm curious. I know that I've had craft dinner this way. I mean, a good portion of my life I wasn't disabled, but you know, I became disabled in my 20s. So I've had a good amount of time of making craft dinner this way. And I forgot the other way existed. I just don't have that as an option. So I just never thought about it anymore. So that's how I made this, but I made it in a pot because of the amount of stuff. But I will say though, because I don't strain, I wonder if that makes the sauce and everything stiffer because all the starch is still in there and it condenses again as the water evaporates. So I guess it's harder to have that really good saucy bowl in comparison to other mac and cheese or whatever. I have a full cooking day. So I made this, and that's a few meals. And then I'm making up one of those frozen skillet things. Again, I bought two, so I'm gonna make it in a pot. But it's Mexican rice something. And it's supposed to have chicken in it. I'm going to make up some TVP, which is textured vegetable protein. And I'm just gonna add it for some extra protein. I know that there's beans in this as well, but still I think that the protein level can be risen a little bit. So I'm gonna do that. And I had a stew in the freezer that I've thawed, and it's meant to go on top of rice. So I might, if I have the energy, I might make up rice to put with it. So that will be my cooking day. An exciting thing in my life is I got a freezer. It's a separate little freezer, not the one that's attached to my fridge, although I want to get a new fridge. So I got this little freezer, and that opens up a lot of options for me, because I generally make up my meals similar to this, where I make a big batch. And I end up freezing half of what I make usually. If I make soups, stews, casseroles, what have you. And this gives me an option to be able to freeze more. So I might consider doing things like making a big batch of pancakes, having some of those in the freezer, so that if I'm having a hard time in the morning, then I can bring some of those out and put those in the toaster and whatever to be able to give myself something. Or if I can't cook but I want something sweet, maybe I can make up a thing of brownies and freeze those. It's an option. I like having that option. I also want to try making pizza dough. Now, what I want to do is make a sourdough starter and make a sourdough pizza dough. That sounds like it would be a great thing. But again, object permanence, have a problem with that. So if I make a sourdough starter, will I remember to feed it? Because it won't be directly in front of me all the time. I probably will want to keep it in the fridge. I don't know. I have to do more research about if I'm able to actually do that. But then if I close the fridge, it doesn't exist. So, but the reason I was wanting to try a sourdough starter is because when you have a sourdough starter, you have to take out some of the starter and then feed the rest of the, or let me see, how do I say this? You have to pour out some of the container, and to that container you add more flour. So you feed the bacteria yeast mixture that you have for sourdough. And with the stuff that you pour out, you can make things. Like you can make pancakes, you can make cinnamon buns, you can make lots of things. And one of the things you can make is pizza dough. So I'm wanting to try that and see. Although that will take kneading, and I know that I have to be in a really good place with my arms that day and energy wise and whatever to be able to do that. But that's something that I think that I want to try. It's possible that I will want to try this without the sourdough component first to see if I can get a really good basic pizza dough recipe and get the handle of making that, because it's a lot of steps to make a sourdough starter, and to then do a sourdough pizza dough, that's just a step more. So I want to go simple first to more complicated, and we'll see how that goes. Maybe I will have to stay at a non-sourdough one for a long time, because you know I might be done after those steps. But I think I want to at least attempt it, at least see if that can be done and actually see about like that in comparison to a frozen pizza. Would that be tastier? Would that be cheaper? Would that, who knows? And in this economy, of course, looking at the price. And now that I have that little freezer, I have this opportunity to be able to look at something like that. So that wasn't bad. I can't see myself craving it. Not like sometimes I crave a certain type of sidekick mixed with another type of sidekick to combine them. Sometimes I crave that. Like a chicken sidekick with a Parmesan, because that truly would be a chicken Parmesan. Or a chicken with a sour cream. And then they have some fun ones like the creepy carbonara, I think it is. Or whatever. I crave those sometimes. This, I don't know if I would crave this, but it's not bad. And it was something that I can easily whip up and tastes a little different than just having plain mac and cheese. So, or plain ramen. So it's a mix of the two. So we all like to mix things up sometimes. Well, I don't want to say we all. I do. I hope you do too. I mean, it's nice to adventure if you're able to. So that will be it for me today, because I just wanted to share that experience with you and have a little gap. So I hope whatever day you're having the best time in the situation that you find yourself in. I will talk to you later.